I remember doing an interview recently with La Stampa in Milan when I was in Italy, and the guy asked me about if I had the chance to do a duet with Pavarotti or with Bocelli. Yeah, this is a very touchy question in Italy, I'll tell you. You know, who would you want to do it with? And I thought, I gotta tell him the truth, you know, and I said Pavarotti, because there's such a difference to me. As much as I admire Bocelli's singing and his ability, he has, and I told him, I said, he has a voice that still, I said, comes from here. Pavarotti comes from somewhere, God knows where it comes from, you know,
yeah,
down
absolutely.
here. And he agreed with me. I thought, whew.
Yeah.
He said yes. He said yes.
All diaphragm.
You are right. Oh.
Good point. And other than Robbie Williams, anybody that you have a strong affection for nowadays when you listen to other vocalists?
I'm looking to put a new song in the show, which I think is going to be David Gray.
David Gray, right?
Yeah, I think I was going to put in White Ladder, which is his last, not his last CD, but the CD before.
Right.
Which is a great song. And when I thought about putting it in the show, I thought, how would I sing this? Will it work for me to do it live? So I put it on, I had an MP3 sent down from my recording studio onto my computer, and I was listening to it, and I thought, what is he saying? So I asked my son, I said, will you give me the liner notes from the CD, bring them in for me from at home? And he did, and I read them, and I thought, what is he saying? I still didn't know. Had no idea where he was going to. And I like to convey something when I'm on stage that I know the audience has an idea about what I'm singing about, and this wasn't going anywhere, you know, for me. I watched him doing an interview a couple weeks later, David Gray, and he said that for his past 4 or 5 CDs, he worked so hard at getting the thought process to work and the rhyming scheme to work. He said this time, he said, the hell with it. He said, if it sounds good and the words at the end of the line rhyme, that's the way I'm
put it. You're right.
That's exactly what he did.
And for those who don't know David Gray, you signed a few years back with Dave Matthews' record label. So that's really, Dave Matthews is the one that really gave him the exposure.
I know, he's the one that found it in Ireland or somewhere, didn't he? He picked it up the first time.
Here, right? Is there any one distinctive quality that you notice all great singers have to have?
Again, difficult, but I think you have to have a very, very big assurance of your ability. And that doesn't mean that you can't be nervous when you're going out to do what you do, or not really supremely confident about it in your own mind as to what you do. But once you get to do what it is you're doing, whether it's recording or doing a live show or a concert or something, you've got to be able to convey the fact that I think that this is me and I'm in control. And I think maybe that's something.
The writing process, because I know composition is supremely important to you.
Right.
Is it the coming up with the idea, the sitting down and composing it, the recording of it, the performing it on stage? Which component is most satisfying for you? 3
of the above. It's funny. You just picked what I always tell people about my most satisfying things that I've ever done or do. One is writing a song with, say, a piano or a guitar, creating it like it's your own baby.
And when you come up with the idea, where do you start? Is it something that maybe was cathartic, you were thinking about it, or is it maybe you think about what the masses go through every day, or?
I'm not one of those. I wish I was. I wish I was one of those people that looked at things or saw things when you're on a train and you see things going by and you write. I have to lock myself in a room and say, I'm going to write today. And the process with me starts with either a word or a phrase, usually.
Does that put a lot of pressure on you?
Yeah.
To do it that way?
But that's okay, because that starts everything working. And to go back to what you were saying originally with Hello Mary Lou, when I had the phrase Hello Mary Lou, Goodbye Heart, I knew that the song was there if I could get to it, if I could find it.
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you
mean. And I had Rebel in my head for the longest time, the word, and knew that it would work. But I used to have a moment of truth in songwriting. That was when I would finish a song, or thought I was finished, I would play it on piano and sing the lead melody into a tape recorder. Then play that tape recorder back, and if there was a harmony, sing the harmony and play guitar into another tape recorder. Then I would sit down and listen to that last tape recording of it. When I did He's a Rebel, I wrote the first one and it was god-awful. And I scrunched up the paper.
Now, why was that? Because what was
it? Just didn't work. It just didn't have. I knew that He's a Rebel had to go somewhere, and I really had the Crystals in mind. I wanted to follow up Uptown, which Spector had just cut with the Crystals, and I heard that with the low strings, loved it.
So you knew where you wanted to take it.
That's the only time I've ever done that, where I actually wanted to do their recording, and I just knew that it didn't work. So I threw the paper away, and I started again. I don't know how long this took, but it was a series of months. Second time, same thing. I just didn't get there. And it's funny, when it starts to flow, it just rolls. I hit it on the third time lucky, and the thing was just coming to me in waves, and I hit it and put that odd modulation in there, which is in the middle of the song as opposed to being after like a series of verses or choruses.
Right.
That really made the thing work, and it was just so natural to do it.
So it really kind of almost sphere-like to sit down. You can see the building process, if you will. You're sitting down, you come up with the idea, you love composing at home, and then to get into the recording studio, put it all together, and then the final performance, bang, brings it all together for you.
Well, they're two separate things now. You're talking about songwriting, and songwriting can go to a certain level depending upon if you're going out to get someone else to record the song. The recording process is like number 2 of the 3 things that I was going to say, is going through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs to get it, whittle it down to those final few songs that you think are great, and then living with it and making it your own. I mean, one of the quickest things I used to do with a song that I would pick up would be to learn it as quickly as I could and get rid of the demo. Because the longer I listened to the demo with someone else singing the song, the more that influenced the way that I was going to record the song, the way that I would do it.
Interesting.
So I would learn it as quick as I could and learn how to play it on piano or guitar, and then get rid of that, the other influence, and kind of make it my own. Then once it was my own, then it's starting to work with the arranger and the producer as to how we're going to go about putting this thing together, what kind of instrumentation, you know, how we're going to do, what studio we're going to do it in, and that part of it. So then when you go in the studio and you find, you know, I used to say that probably 90% of the work was done prior to the actual recording session. Then you go in and do it, and then to see it work, and the populace out there says, yes, you were right. That's a wonderful moment.
There's the glow.
That's 2, and 3 is the live performance, which is difficult to convey to people that haven't been on stage. But on the given night, when the lights are right, the sound is right, the orchestra is right, you're feeling right, when everything works, there's a give and take from an audience that's spine-tingling, that you don't get that often. It only happens now and then, but when it does, it's an amazing
Euphoric.
feat. Oh, great.
To make it in this business, Gene Pitney from 20 years old to Gene Pitney today, to make it in this business, you have to have what?
You have to have ability, and you probably have to have talent, but you also have to learn now, especially, how to get that out there within what is now a music business. It used to be more tilted toward the music side of the music business. Now it's way tilted toward the business side of the music business. And it doesn't necessarily mean that talent and ability is going to be the thing that's going to get you there. You've got to learn how to get that out in front of that public, and how to get those records sold, and how to get yourself in the right places to play at the right time. It's difficult. I think it's much harder today than when I first started.
You know, when I think trying to think about the entire arc of your career right now in my mind, and if you were to sit down, let's say, and write about your career in retrospective, it would say what?
He did most of the things he wanted to do, I really think.
And what were the things that you set out to accomplish that you did, and just it brought you to another level?
Well, again, I think that's wrong. Maybe I said that wrong, because I didn't set out to do anything. I set out to make music. I set out to write songs, but I never had any plan more than 6 months ahead, or maybe a tour, which you had to plan a year ahead.
Yeah, but when you think about performing, first pop performer in front of the Academy Awards, Golden Globe Awards, you know, performance for the Queen, London Palladium, which again on this next tour coming up, you're going to play, sold out concerts the world over, Carnegie Hall. You gotta admit, it's been more than an impressive career.
It's been a great ride, but I really think that all of those things came after the fact of all the groundwork that was done to become a very good performer, writing very good songs, and making very good records. All of those spawned everything else that came after. You just made me think when, it's funny how things go through your head immediately. But you said the Academy Awards, you know, people don't realize that that one I did, I was the first pop singer to ever be on there, which means you're going to be very scrutinized in being up there. It was live. That was the key to the whole thing. Today, everything's taped, and if you do something, make a gaffe, they just do it over again and fix it.
Well, tell me about that evening. Tell me about the feeling. Tell me about before, when you're out in the wings and that anticipatory feeling and then walking out and performing. Speak to that.
First of all, I was there and I was rubbing elbows with, there was Burt Lancaster's and Judy Garland, Marilyn Monroe, every name that I had ever seen in the film industry were all like there and walking, especially at the Golden Globes, because the song won. I had to be the only one that sang because it was the only musical part of the feature of the evening. And boy, you don't want to do that when you're a young green kid from Rockville, Connecticut, looking out at that sea of faces out there. It was a really scary moment. You know, it's amazing that anything came out at all. But at the Academy Awards show, the producer came up to me and he said, now what we want you to do is we want you to start singing your song up here on this level. When it gets to the instrumental break, we want you to walk down these, I think it was 7 steps, down to the level where Mr. Hope is. Bob Hope was the host. He said, now, we don't want you to look down when you're walking down the stairs. And that was, my life went before me right then and there. And I wasn't really thinking about the world watching, the millions of people. I was thinking about people at home, that my family and everybody that were watching, and I thought, you're going to fall down the damn stairs. I really thought this was the end of me here. And I've only recently seen a tape of the show, because they hoard those things at the Academy. I looked calm as could be. I couldn't believe it. I mean, my stomach was churning when I did that thing. And I was, and made it down there and had the day over with. But my God, it was just a earth-shaking experience for someone that young and that naive that I was at the time.
Musically, when you look out at the horizon, you look onto the horizon, what do you see right now that you want to do with your music?
I want to have a successful CD. I've been working for a couple of years, more than that, with my son Todd, who runs a recording studio for me at home. And Todd is way beyond me as a musician. He's an excellent keyboard player, an excellent guitarist, he's an excellent drummer. But more important, he knows how computers think, and the studio is computer driven. And we've been writing things, and it's interesting because it's a double-edged sword when you have a lot of success from a different period of time. By that I mean some of the things that we've written and recorded, I played for people whose opinions I respected. And they said, I know that that's Gene Pitney, but it doesn't sound like a Gene Pitney song, which is exactly what we're trying to do, because a great 60s song right now is not going to mean anything. It's not going to, you're not going to get it played, and it's not going to fit any format of which, and unfortunately, this country is steeped in formats. You're more aware of that than anybody.
Absolutely.
So what we're trying to do is write something that's a contemporary type song. And when I said I like David Gray, I like what he did because I like Dido as well, because they're writing things that slip through the cracks somehow. They're melodically strong, lyrically strong, but they fit now. I think they could have fit actually a lot of other periods of time as well. And I think that's the kind of stuff that we have to write. And that's when you say the horizon. That's what I would like to do, because if I could get in the charts, it would be 4 decades of being in the charts. And I had a big record around the world with Mark Allman back in the early 90s.
Yeah,
Something got a hold of my heart.
Right.
And prior to that, in '75, a song called Blue Angel.
Exactly.
So there's been steps along the way, so I need another one. That's the only thing I'm looking for.
Sum up to me in one sentence what you want people to think of Gene Pitney and Gene Pitney's music.
He was a hard-working guy who gave it everything he had in every aspect of music that he worked in.
Gene Pitney. Thank you, sir. This has been an extreme pleasure
you.
for me. Thank you so much. Thanks
Pleasure.
for doing this, and please come back here anytime.
Thanks very much.
I'd love
I
to
sure
have you
will.
back again. Thanks.
Okay.